Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to take a closer look at some recent updates impacting the overall semiconductor market from Nvidia, Samsung, AMD, and the list goes on and on. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so let's start off with Nvidia. Right now, the stock ended at $130 last night, but we can see pre-market, the stock is pretty much flat. Nvidia has done amazing, right? In the past month, the stock is up roughly 5.2%. And from that low we saw in August, the stock is already up over 30%. So congratulations to any shareholders that were able to pick up in the bottom. Right now, we are just waiting for earnings that are expected to come out on August 28th, so next week. And like always, this is going to be the best place you're going to find any Nvidia news. So since we last made an episode on Nvidia, there's not too much to cover from Nvidia specific news. We're going to see a lot of kind of individual news from other industries or from other players that could impact Nvidia. But on August 19th, yesterday, Nvidia Research announced kind of a new generative AI model, Stormcast, which is great for kind of doing kind of climate guessing on climate prediction. And this, in my opinion, while it's not big news or something that would drive the stock price, it does showcase the strength of AI, where it's not just generative AI models for things like text, like images. We can see how companies can use it for simulations. So if we're using it for simulations here in weather, I mean, I'm pretty sure we can use it for other types of simulations as long as a company has plenty of data. So generative AI models, while we just see it as OpenAI, there's so many different use cases here that so many companies can benefit. I mean, imagine a company developing kind of a plane or a car, kind of doing simulations to see how that vehicle will deal in kind of aerodynamics, in the aerodynamics theme. And if you have plenty of data, maybe you can quickly design something to make it the best vehicle of all time. So there's a lot of opportunities here for generative AI models, which obviously bodes well for Nvidia's solution because they provide the best hardware, software, infrastructure, and the list goes on and on. Now, kind of continuing here with the AI market, Google recently launched their Pixel 9 series. I believe it's expected to be released on August 22nd. Personally, I am really thinking about purchasing this new phone just because I have a really old beat up phone, and it just gives me an excuse to buy something new. So Google launched this AI powered Pixel. So we see that we're bringing more AI solutions to the consumer world. And I think that overall just showcases that AI is definitely here to stay, as we're going to be bringing it to the masses. We know Apple is going to be doing the same with their upcoming Apple line product and Apple Intelligence. So again, we're bringing AI solutions to the consumer space. While probably most of these solutions are being done on local devices, it just tells us that companies are developing AI solutions, which at the end of the day has to be trained one way or another through some form of AI infrastructure. Most of the AI infrastructure market share, though, is coming from Nvidia. Obviously, companies like Google do have their own AI solution. But again, it just gives us more evidence that the AI market is real and one where Nvidia can continue to provide various solutions for it. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say thank you all for the support. I do have 2 ebooks if you want to learn more about the semiconductor market. If you actually purchase both ebooks, you get $20 off automatically. The first is kind of like an encyclopedia with 50 plus companies in the market right now. The second is an earnings insight covering current earnings right now. So Nvidia earnings are coming up next week. And if you do purchase the books now, you do get the updated versions for free sent on your email. So the great thing is, like I mentioned, $20 off automatically right now. The earnings ebook already has nearly 40 companies and 40 earnings that have reported this quarter in the semiconductor space. I promise you will learn a lot and a lot of information from automotive, from AI, from analog, from digital, from data center, and the list goes on and on. So make sure to check that out at moresemiinvesting.com. Talking about AI AI market, we do know that AI chips do need a lot and a lot of HBM, so high bandwidth memory. This is the memory that's used on your MI300, on your H100, on your H200, on your B100 and B200. And right now there's three players really developing HBM. Samsung, the leader right now is SK Hynix, and then what I believe is second in place is Micron Technology. So Samsung mentions that they are expected to enter HBM4 in mass productions by the end of 2025, ready for next-gen AI GPUs. So this could be ready for next-gen Rubin R100 AI GPUs from Nvidia. So again, there's a lot of competition in this space, in the memory space, as there's three big players and they're battling out here. They're right neck to neck, even though SK Hynix does have a lead. One of the main reasons I'm personally not invested in memory companies is just because of the heavy competition that they have, the pricing wars that they would have to go to if over inventory becomes an issue. So definitely a growth opportunity for memories as we are developing at such rapid pace. But like I mentioned, memory companies are usually ones I tend to stick away from. But we are seeing kind of a huge growth in memory, not only from HBM, which is DRAM, but we're also seeing growth from SSD productions, which I believe is mainly NAND flash productions. So we can see the two major types of memory types, DRAM and NAND, are seeing some form of growth. DRAM are seeing the growth because of HBM memory or because of HBM, and NAND seems to be growing because AI servers demand pushes enterprises SSD demand up, which is causing prices to go up as demand skyrockets. So again, a lot of nice tailwinds for the memory market, and definitely can continue to see a lot of this bullish sentiment for at least the next few years for the memory space. Now, SK Hynix, continuing with SK Hynix, who is the leader in this market, has mentioned that they want to develop HBM with a 30x performance increase. So like I mentioned, SK Hynix is the leader in this space, and they want to do everything to maintain that leadership. So in the most recent event, I believe the president mentioned that, hey, look, we're working on something very powerful. And if that's the case, this is where if you are maybe an investor of Micron Technology or Samsung, you're going to want to keep an eye out on this competition, because this competition is going to be very, very competitive. And if one player has a huge lead over the other, they're going to take a lot and a lot of market share. Now, some really big news that came out yesterday was AMD did report the acquisition, that they have made a definite agreement to acquire a company called CT Systems. So CT Systems manufactures and designs huge racks and data center solutions. And in my opinion, this is going to be something where AMD is kind of paving that path to become a true competitor to Nvidia. The great thing about Nvidia is this is what AMD is trying to do. They're trying to have great CPUs, GPUs, great networking, great software solutions, and a great ability to design these huge cluster systems of thousands and thousands of GPUs. This is something that Nvidia already dominates, and this is what makes Nvidia so strong. Nvidia already has their great CPUs, which is great for AI. They have an amazing GPU platform. Nvidia has great networking from their InfiniBand and from their NVLink connection as well. They have their CUDA for the software, and they just overall have their strong system designs. And with this new acquisition, AMD is adding a lot more to it. They're also working with networking with a lot of other companies to do Ultra Ethernet and UA Link, which could UA Link is, for example, the competition to Nvidia's NVLink. So AMD is definitely working to become a true competitor, and in my opinion, this makes me more bullish on AMD in the long term of things. I don't think Nvidia investors have to worry, because if I was to grade this for Nvidia, Nvidia would have passing colors in everything here. Now for AMD, they have probably passing colors here in the CPU, in the GPU. They probably are getting close to really good passing colors maybe in the software space, but the networking and the cluster level system designs are still very, very low. So they're nowhere near in forms of the performance for Nvidia, but I think they're gonna start to creep there slowly at the moment. Even for the next 2 to 3 years, this is not something that I would be worried as an Nvidia investor. but definitely something investors should keep an eye out. Talking about this acquisition, like I mentioned, CT System manufacturers and designs data center servers. They do not want to compete against Supermicro, Dell, or all the other players in the hardware space. So AMD is looking for a partner to sell off this manufacturing side of the business. Now, this manufacturing side of the business has about a $10 billion run rate. It also has a lot of footprint here in the United States and in Europe. And they're looking for someone to pretty much purchase off this side of the business. Now, in yesterday's episode, I mentioned that I believe Supermicro would be a big contender in this acquisition. And I actually said that before even reading this. Yesterday, on August 19th, the board of directors of Supermicro are excited to have Susie Giordano enter as a Supermicro director. Now, the reason I think this is pretty interesting is because Susie, she previously worked 11 years in Intel as kind of a person that worked with Intel's capital in Intel's global investment organizations that makes equity investments and handles, you guessed it, acquisitions. She had joined Intel Capital in 2011 as merger and acquisition console. So we can see that I might be onto something, but it seems like Supermicro is definitely looking to make an acquisition or to make a big purchase recently, especially with this added board of directors. So I think we might see Supermicro make a bid in the CT Systems. And if that's the case, CT Systems has a lot of engineers. Like I mentioned, they have footprint in United States and in Europe, and their annual run rate was about 10 billion in the manufacturing side. So this could be a very, very big win for Supermicro. If we do see this acquisition, I definitely want you to come here and say, Jose, you mentioned this a few weeks ago that Supermicro was going to be partnering up with AMD to acquire CT Systems. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to check out the ebook at moresemiinvesting.com, and thank you all for the support.